Well, hello friends. Welcome to the Ladybird browser update for July 2024. The first thing that I want to talk about today is how we have created a nonprofit. Now, this was a pretty big announcement, but if you haven't seen it already, we have created the Ladybird Browser Initiative, which is a 501c3 nonprofit founded in California, United States. And the inaugural board of directors are myself and Chris Wanstroth, who is the former co-founder and CEO of GitHub. We are also speaking with a number of candidates to expand the board of directors, but we don't have a specific person yet. And the mission of this nonprofit is to build a truly independent web browser and give it away for free forever. We also want to never monetize our users in any way. So this means that we're not going to do any kind of default search engine deals. We're not going to do any kind of cryptocurrency tokens. And we're not going to do anything really where we try to make money off of having users. Instead, it's strictly based on donations and sponsorships from companies that care about the open web having an independent browser. And we also believe it's part of our mission to increase the diversity of the browser ecosystem. There have been fewer and fewer engines in the recent years, and we believe that the ecosystem will be healthier with more engines. So we are making our own engine and trying to contribute in that way. And of course, we also want to verify that web standards are actually implementable. Some people argue that web standards and specifications are out of control, that you can't implement them. And by making a new engine, we are actually verifying whether or not this is true. We're checking if it's possible to implement them. And this so far has led to a lot of bug reports and specs, which is also very healthy for the browser ecosystem. So our roadmap looks roughly like this. This is a very high-level roadmap. We are currently in the pre-alpha stage. So Ladybird right now is just a test bed for a new browser engine. But we are aiming to put out an alpha version in 2026, which aims to be a daily driver for developers like ourselves and also for courageous early adopters. And then the alpha program will hopefully generate so much feedback that we can do a beta in 2027, which would be a downloadable app for Mac OS and Linux, a bit more user-friendly. And our hope is to have a stable release for the general public in 2028. Now, this is a very ambitious timeline. As anybody who is actually familiar with the scope of what we're doing will tell you. But I do believe that we are on good track. And we are working on a more detailed breakdown of what actually has to happen for these steps to succeed. And we will be sharing the more detailed roadmap with you as well going forward when it's a bit more finished. So this is all possible thanks to our sponsors, of course. So we have a number of new sponsors and some old ones that are still with us. So we're super grateful to all these companies and individuals. These are our largest sponsors. And we also have a couple of hundred individual persons who have signed up to be recurring sponsors as well. So this is fantastic. And check out ladybird.org if you want to learn more about the nonprofit or if you're interested in sponsoring us. Okay, so let's look at July 2024. Now, we've seen 359 pull requests from 77 contributors, and there's been work in a whole bunch of different areas. One particularly interesting one is the web platform tests. So if you're not familiar, this is a test suite for the web platform, which all browsers contribute to, essentially. So all the big browsers, they all contribute test cases, and then everybody can run those test cases, and it's kind of a shared project in that way to improve interoperability. And one of our big goals is that we want to run the web platform test and be part of this thing. So this month we've seen some substantial stability improvements. we have joined the WPT FYI staging area. So WPT FYI is a dashboard webpage where you can see sort of how every browser is doing right now on the web platform tests. And we want to publish there as well. We're not on the WPT.FYI proper because we still have a little bit of jank in our testing setup, but we are in the staging area. So you can check it out on staging.wpt.fyi, I think. I'll put a link in the description. And new this month is that we can do parallel runs. So previously we had some trouble with that, but now we're able to run, 8 tests in parallel, 16 tests in parallel. It's really depending on hardware limitations, really. And this is drastically improving our cycle times. And Tim is right now looking at migrating this whole thing to a dedicated runner because he's been running our WPT runs on his home PC at night. And that's not the best setup. So we have a separate machine. We're looking at migrating. There are some issues with running it in an automated fashion, but we're expecting to have this up and going in the very near future. And we will then begin publishing to WPT FYI proper. And that means that you can go there and find random test failures with these like little unit tests that fail, which are often extremely approachable for anybody who's interested in fixing a bug in a browser engine. Finding tiny little failures on WPT, really good first issues. And also this month, we have some very good news about our WASM test suite compliance. We now pass 100% of the WASM test suite. This is a test suite that is part of the WASM specification. So it's maintained alongside of it in the same Git repo. And we now pass all the tests thanks to Diego and Ali, who worked very hard on this month. And they had to implement a bunch of SIMD stuff. I think that was the last remaining thing. So very cool. We also have a bunch of new third-party libraries coming in this month. These 4, so SIMD UTF is a package of SIMD optimized routines for Unicode and base 64. So we use those for really fast UTF-8, UTF-16, and base 64 conversions. Very, very cool. We also have 3 image codec libraries for WebP, AVIF, and JPEG XL. These are things that we would have implemented ourselves before, but now we use the industry standard libraries for them, which means that we were able to throw away thousands of lines of our own old C++ in favor of these like mature, well-tested, high-performance libraries. So this is really good as well because essentially we are looking for third-party libraries that supply functionality that are not sort of core browser engine competencies, if that makes sense. So stuff that is like loading an image format is not really a browser engine core competency. So we would rather lean on the open source ecosystem, get something that works really well, and then focus more on the browser engine stuff. So yeah, this is really, really exciting, I think. The SIMD enhanced Unicode stuff gave us some really good performance boosts across the board. And speaking of third-party libraries, we have now made Skia the default graphics library. And that means that we are now using the GPU whenever possible. We rasterize on the GPU instead of using CPU instructions, which gives us a massive speed up on 2D graphics. It is just much, much faster. You notice it everywhere. And CSS transforms now just work. So previously we could do translate and rotate. Oh no, translate and scale transforms. They were the ones we could do, but we couldn't do rotate or arbitrary matrices and things like that. They would just kind of fall apart and become some variant of scaling or translation instead. But now we have proper transforms. It looks great, is fast, amazing. We also have a bunch of CSS improvements, of course. So we have the has selector, although it is very unoptimized. So it's something that we're going to have to keep iterating on, but at least the functionality is there. So if somebody uses it, we still select the element. We also have the host selector for selecting the host element of a shadow tree from within that shadow tree. It's a bit of a mind-bending CSS selector. We now propagate CSS variables into the shadow DOM the way that we're supposed to. So they are inherited through the shadow boundary. And we have a bunch of new color functions. And we also have fit content support for CSS grid layout, which turns out was used in a bunch of places. And we also started invalidating pseudo element style, which means that, for example, if you hover over a pseudo element and there's some style specific to that in the CSS, then we now actually update that pseudo element instead of just not reacting when the state of a pseudo element changes. We also have CSS counters. They are new this month. And here's an example of us using them to number our view source view. So the digits on the left side here that represent the line numbers are CSS counters. They're generated, not part of the content, but just auto-generated by CSS. This was implemented by Sam. Very cool. And now I would like to give you a demo of where Ladybird is right now. And here we are on my macOS desktop. Let's fire up Ladybird and visit some of our new sponsors, starting with Futo. So Futo is kind of a tech freedom organization. They want to build software that provide alternatives to big tech software. So these are some of the things they're building in-house. And they also run a big grants program, which is where we come in because we are the recipients of one of their grants. So big shout outs to Futo for sponsoring us, and check them out at futo.org. Another sponsor we should visit is null.com because we've done a bunch of work on their website this month. In particular, they really benefit from the integration of Skia as our new default rasterizer. So you can really see the background effect here with a blurry radial gradient on top of a bunch of text. This is something that our previous rasterizer, which we inherited from Serenity OS, which was running on the CPU only, it just couldn't handle this page. And Alex has done a ton of great work this month on making us sit on top of Skia and then getting Skia to talk to the GPU on both Linux and Mac OS, and then moving our text rendering into Skia as well. And all of that stuff combined makes this nice smooth effect here finally. And this is really awesome to see because with the previous rasterizer, we would just choke and die when loading this page. And now it's actually downright smooth, and we still stutter a bit when you're scrolling, but the fact that it works so well now is really, really good. And scrolling, we have a long way to go with making scrolling fast because we actually repaint the whole page every step of the scroll, so we don't cache or retain anything between frames. So there's a ton of stuff we can do to make scrolling go fast. We just haven't done it yet. But yeah, so very, very cool. And of course, shout outs to Null for sponsoring us. Let's visit another sponsor, Tuple.app. They recently redesigned their webpage. I know I spent a bunch of time making their previous website work, but their new website, which looks quite a bit nicer than the old one actually, works reasonably well in Ladybird, although we're definitely seeing a bunch of stutter here. And I think there are some small blemishes in the layout. Oh, look at that stutter. Yeah, we're going to have to debug this and figure out what's going on. But it is really nice to see that it's looking reasonably correct. Just needs a bit of love. I don't think this demo here is working correctly either. It's supposed to reveal like more and less of that veiled application. So yeah, we have some debugging to do on this site. But yeah, Tuple is a pairing software that we use sometimes when pairing with each other, working on Ladybird. So it's really cool to have them as a sponsor of the project as well. Another sponsor is the Packet Clearinghouse, which is it's an international treaty organization that they provide a bunch of operational support for like the internet backbone. So stuff like peering and various security things. And I am not super familiar with that world, but this is their website. And they decided to sponsor Ladybird because they like what we're doing and they like the potential impact that we might have on the world. So that is really, really cool of them. So shout outs to PCH. All right. And why don't we visit ladybird.org in Ladybird? There are definitely a couple issues here, like the backgrounds don't look quite correct, but scrolling is nice and smooth. And here are our sponsors. Oh, we should also visit Playbit, by the way. Let's do that momentarily. Or you know what? Let's open it in a second tab. It didn't open in a second tab. Well, this is Playbit anyway. They are building a 4th generation operating system. It's Rasmus Andersson and crew working on this. So they're building some kind of very curious blend of like POSIX and web GPU, and definitely something to check out. And shout outs to Playbit for sponsoring Ladybird. We really appreciate that. Let me see why that open in tab thing didn't happen. Maybe it's just command tab or command click that didn't work. Yeah, so this is Bastian's website. Bastian is he's not a company, it's just Bastian. And he decided to sponsor us as well. And he said that he thinks that he wants to show up here, even if he's not a company, because he wants people to see that individuals can sponsor Ladybird as well. So check out Bastian's website at turbulent.com. And thank you, Bastian, for sponsoring us. And the remaining sponsors here are sponsors that we bring with us from before. But of course, we still appreciate their support as well. So dang it, now I command clicked again. Shopify, they still have the same website. I am surprised. And we also have unclickable. Let's just visit everybody while we're at it. I wonder if my internet connection has failed or something. Let's relaunch Ladybird. You never know. It's pre-alpha software. Shopify.com. All right. Onemakler. Looking all right. Think we need to get cracking here on CSS support for OpenType variable fonts, because this is supposed to be a bit heavier, the text, but we don't recognize variable fonts. This is something that we will be getting pretty soon, I think, as we move more of our text rendering pipeline on top of Skia. So that's something to look forward to for sure. The layout here looks a little suspicious. I think we have some work to do, but on the whole, pretty okay. And of course, shout outs to Onemakler for sponsoring us last year. Oh, this is the way Shopify looks. Right. So this is the way it looked, I feel like a year ago almost. If anybody from Shopify is watching, maybe it's time to do something fresh and interesting with your landing page. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I've seen it so many times. We need to figure out why start your free trial here is not spaced apart. But yeah, just going through all the sponsors and visiting them in Ladybird, it's cool that their websites are working. And we really appreciate all of your support. And if you would like to receive email about Ladybird every month, then sign up for our newsletter on the website, by the way. Just put your email in here and we will email you. All right. Okay, So before we go, I definitely want to thank all of our contributors. These are the names of all the people who committed something in the month of July 2024. Thank you all so much for working on Ladybird. I am so glad that so many of you come and do this with us. It's super fun, and everybody brings their own sort of itch scratching to the project. It's so great. So thank you all very much. And thank you as well for watching the video, for staying up to date with the Ladybird project. We also have a newsletter. If you prefer reading over videos, you can sign up for that on ladybird.org. It has roughly the same information as these videos, but a little bit of difference. And this was our first time doing a newsletter, so they will hopefully get better over time, but sign up for that if you're interested. And yeah, it's been a great month, and the future is looking very bright. So we'll see you next month. Bye.